Simple to start, then layer on complexities. This is my fave type of learning because it's so beginner friendly. 2 eyes and nose at bottom corner. Jaw is inside the cheekbone so it's not as wide as the cranium. Forward, back, forward again. The skin tone changes with lighting. There is no skin. Ethan! Just kidding, it's a blank page. Also, yes, I'm giving my nails a break so they're naked, don't look at them. So, you know, Ahmed Aldoori is a favorite on this channel. I did 2 videos on him last year. My first was a technique tryout based on how he paints skin, and my second video about him was a style study. Well, through some divine luck, not only did Ahmed actually watch the video and comment on it, he freaking DM'd me on Instagram and just gave me the complete edition of his online course, Medsmap. So I asked him, I was like, hey, do you mind if I do a course review type video about your course in January? Not only did he say yes, he gave me an affiliate link for you guys, which means I get a percentage from any purchase made via that link. Obviously, I have that link in the video description, but I still want to be very, very clear, this is not a sponsored video. He gave me the course for free, he has an affiliate link which I would make money off of if you purchase via that link, but he's not paying me to actually do a video, this is just all me. I've literally spent a whole entire month putting this video together, and there was so much I had to edit out because this would be just a Medsmap podcast. A medcast, if you will. No? Can't use that? Okay. So yeah, I just quickly want to say thank you so much to Ahmed for actually giving me the course. It is mind-blowing and there was so much I learned today. And really quickly before we dive in, please remember to like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy this video. Let me know if you will be taking the course or you already have. If you'd like to support the channel directly, check out my Patreon. I put loads of extra content on there every single week. Or you could take the Medsmap course using my affiliate link and do Ahmed, me and yourself a huge favor. Alrighty, let's take a look at what I learned on Medsmap. First things first, let me tell you a little bit about how the course is advertised, which is always my favorite part because we get to then compare the outcomes to what was promised. On the course website, Ahmed says if you want to become a professional illustrator or concept artist, you need a clear map of how to get there. I've taken everything I've learned from my last 10 years working in the concept art industry, and I've compiled the techniques you actually need to know into this comprehensive course. He said you can use Photoshop, Procreate or Clip Studio Paint, though I personally worked on Critter and it worked perfectly well. It is ideally for artists with the very basic understanding of painting, and I assume comfortability with their software of choice. Ideally, you're going to learn over a course of 14 weeks. I obviously speed ran through the lessons, but I'll talk more about that in just a second. He also says that the lessons are based off traditional painting techniques with oil, acrylic, and gouache. And what was probably the most amazing part, to me at least, was that Graffiti Studio did an actual exclusive photo shoot which acts as references for this course. I feel like Ahmed must have been so excited when that deal happened to have custom reference photos like that. Okay, maybe I'm geeking out over the wrong thing. So coming back to the runtime, Ahmed recommends doing 1 unit per week along with all of the assignments. And since the basic course comes with 15 units, that would come to about 14 or 15 weeks. The basic course with the 15 units assignment and a few extras retails at $270, and the complete edition, which is what he gifted to me, is $330 and comes with some Gumroad classics and extra real-time painting footage, which is over 40 hours of extra content. There is the legendary tier, which is currently sold out, but that one had live critique sessions and such. It is a one-time charge with any version of the course, and you get lifetime access to the content you purchase, so don't worry about needing to save it all somehow. Alrighty, let's dive into the review. You better buckle up because I feel like this is gonna be a long one. Here's the thing, I may not be the best artist or the best YouTuber or the best person really, but I can guarantee you I am 100% a very good student. I love learning, as you've probably guessed by what is probably the most popular series on this channel. Hell, I even got all A stars at my A level. Seriously, ask my mum, she'll tell you. I mention this because this love of learning has led me to take many a course, and each one has left me significantly better equipped to solve design problems and create better art. However, no course is ever made to perfectly follow one person's progression, so when I do start taking a new course on art, I always like to approach it with only the exact prerequisites in my head and nothing more. So here, having looked at the unit titles, I gathered that this was designed for artists who are a slightly earlier stage than where I am. Promise I'm not saying this as an ego thing, but this is just some friendly advice from a professional student. When you approach a course, always approach it as if you only know the prerequisites and nothing more. I promise you this will help you approach any course with a much more open mind, and you will absorb a lot more information than you would otherwise. Empty your cup or it cannot be refilled, right? Also, I did this entire course so far on Critter, which by the way, Critter 5.0 video up here, you're welcome, you can watch this after you're done with this one. But I figured as a beginner-ish artist, I probably wouldn't want to spend a lot of money on very expensive digital painting software, at least until I got very familiar with what my style is. So I figured this would be a fun little challenge to see how well these skills transfer to other painting software. Spoiler alert, they do. First thing I did was download the brushes. Well, no, first thing I did was make a notebook on Notion and a folder with loads of subfolders in preparation for the assignment, but then I downloaded the brush pack that comes with the course, and honestly, there are some super cool brushes in here. I had to test them on Photoshop because, again, Critter, but here's a clip of me testing out these brushes as I always do with any new brush pack. There are some amazing texture and scatter brushes in here, and while I personally don't use the mixer brush on Photoshop and don't normally reach for a few of these, I know these brushes are a big deal in the course, so it's really nice to be able to use the exact ones that he's using on screen. I feel like brushes are such a personal thing, especially when it comes to digital art, but if you're looking for some very traditional feeling oil painty brushes, this is an excellent pack to play with. There are two beautiful brushes here that I love, the sample brush 1016 and this chalky brush that has a name that I cannot read. He uses this one a lot through the course, so it's nice to be able to actually paint along with him like that. Let's take a look at the web interface, because I feel like when you learn an online course, you want the interface to be very intuitive and pretty much invisible until you actually need to use it. And yeah, I'd say the platform is pretty clean, no extra bells or whistles. Each unit has subunits, and when you're watching a video, the playlist only contains all the videos in that specific unit. The videos didn't glitch out or use up too much data, and it has an automatic bookmark and a complete marker, so that when you take a break and come back the next time, it has a record of how many lessons you've completed and how far into the current one you've actually progressed. You also have all of the unit files, PSDs, assignment briefs, references, and so on in the respective playlist page, and it's a one-click download, which is surprisingly rare, so we're gonna appreciate that, okay? Within the first few videos, I actually really liked how likable Ahmed is. Despite being such a big and popular and highly skilled artist, he doesn't seem dismissive or condescending even when teaching the very basics, such as how to render a sphere and cylinder, which we would call base knowledge. I think it is an important trait for a teacher to have is the joy of teaching, no matter how simple or complex the lesson is. And given how many years Ahmed has actually been teaching for, it is obvious that he genuinely enjoys the process with every new student, even though it might be repetitive. So I really appreciate that, because good teachers really don't get the love and respect that they deserve. Alright, so I want to divide the units into two sections. I'll give you my halfway remarks between the two of them, and I'll give you my final remarks at the very end. Alrighty, let's look at the meat and potatoes of this course. Man, I'm hungry.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
I really like the course structure where you start with the very basic 3D shapes, and over the course of the course you learn how to put these 3D shapes together and form the more complex shapes of the face, and then you apply all the more advanced principles. But to start off, in Unit 1, called Rendering Form, Ahmed takes us through some rendering drills such as painting spheres, cylinders and cubes, as well as some other shapes. He starts off with a pretty basic simple lighting scenario and flat areas of paint, and then builds up to the techniques for blending, specular highlights and so on. There's one thing he does throughout the entire course, and that is sharing all of the knowledge that he's learned over the years, and also citing the sources where he learned them, which, first of all, how do you even remember where you learned something? But for instance, in the very first video, he mentioned how he chooses the perfect shadow tone, using a method that he learned from Scott Robertson, who wrote the books How to Draw and How to Render. I've previously read both of these books, but this actually prompted me to go find them again and read them again, which is wow, because imagine actually wanting to do the extracurricular reading. The point I'm trying to make is that not only does Ahmed teach you the techniques, he teaches you the techniques that he uses. And I think that is so important because a lot of teachers will teach you the theory but not how they actually use it. So it is super refreshing to have someone who does as they actually say. Another thing I learned in Unit 1 was that everything is a donut. Here's some paint-along forms from this unit. Not the assignment, but it was amazing practice. Unit 2, Med Cubes, is all about colors, which colors to pick, how to put them down, where to put them down, and why they work the way that they work. Here's something from my actual course notes. I wrote that the way he teaches you to layer vibrant tones on top of each other really helps you build an intuition with color. And that's actually something that's really important and I want to talk about for just a minute, because when I went through this course, over time, I felt like I was becoming more and more confident with my artistic intuition. And for a very long time, I genuinely thought that's the kind of thing that you cannot teach, but I guess I was wrong, huh? Also, this was around the point where I realized that I'd learned a very key skill, lost edges. Lost edges are basically edges that you blend away, creating a bit of abstraction. And I'm one of those people that overly explains every single thing, so lost edges is a skill that eluded me until I got to Unit 2, and suddenly it made sense which edges to keep and which ones to blend. Weird. Here's the cubes I painted from this exercise, and let me tell you, these exercises feel so incredibly simple when you look at the end product, but the amount of knowledge and truth bombs he drops on you on the way are absolutely crazy. The third unit, Painting Basic Subjects, is your first foray into painting more organic shapes and forms. And this is the apple unit because all you do is paint an apple, and then another one, and then another one, and then a weird one. This unit truly taught me the power of repetition. Here's a direct quote from my notes. Learning through repetition. Listen, I'm an Aries. No, but seriously, the first apple I painted was meh. The second one was a little and by the time the third one hit, it was a significant difference. And when that weird fourth one came in, whew. Unit 4, Constructing the Skull. Now, I'm gonna be completely honest here, and you'll probably hate me for saying this, but when I first looked at this unit, I thought for me personally, there probably wouldn't be very much to learn from this unit. I figured it was a great unit for people who weren't familiar with the anatomy of the head, which it was, but I know skulls. I've studied them in a medical context, so I figured how much more can I really learn from this unit? You already know where this is going. I felt like a complete egg at the end of this unit because oh my god, how could I not have seen all of this knowledge? Initially, I thought of the skull as just a layer under the face and focused all of my anatomy studies on getting the surface features right because those are the ones you actually see. Let me tell you, I feel rightfully schooled because as it turns out, the shape and structure of the skull actually determines the entire structure of the face. Who would have thought? And this is precisely precisely why I was so excited to get started on this course, because if there is one lesson that I've learned from over a decade of painting, it is that there is always something to learn or practice or refine, no matter how good you think you are. And combined with Unit 5 Skulls Without Reference, it has just completely changed the way I look at faces and how I draw them. There are so many super helpful ways of thinking that Ahmed teaches you throughout this entire course that have helped me not just with these specific assignments, but also with all the paintings that I create outside of this course. And now I feel so much more comfortable in building faces from scratch, which in the past have been a bit of a hit and miss, but now I feel like they're always going to be structurally sound and anatomically correct every single time. Here's a couple of skulls that I painted, and I will absolutely be attempting every single assignment he lists, because man have my eyes been opened. One thing I want to mention about this course, and this is probably just my personal previous experience, but one thing I want to talk about is the fact that Ahmed actually put in the work. Every assignment, every exercise, every tutorial, he will sit there and draw and paint and talk you through the entire thing in real time. I can't tell you how many courses that I've taken where it feels rushed, or it almost feels like an inconvenience for the person teaching to have to teach. And this is not just with art, there are so many courses online and in person where even though the content is amazing, the way that it is taught kind of makes you fall out of love with the subject. So the fact that he has gone through every single one of these assignments with us is actually very encouraging and very important. Another thing I want to mention here is that so far you've watched me paint along with the tutorials. These are not the actual assignments. I will do all of the assignments in due time because you can really never go wrong with practice, but for the purpose of this video, these are just the paint along tutorial style assignment things, if that makes sense. But starting now, we're going to dive into the more complex tutorials where this wasn't exactly possible, so I just wanted to mention that just now. Because what follows now is all the complex tutorials where he actually paints faces, so let's keep going. Unit 6, the facial features, is just what it says on the tin. He walks you through painting each individual feature on the face, but this is where that confidence comes in. Because rather than just showing you how to go right in and draw what you see in the reference, Ahmed teaches you to actually construct each feature from the simple shapes we painted all the way back in Unit 1. Yeah, seriously, it can be done. He also teaches the wireframe method of rendering, which actually simplifies lighting and shadows so much it should be illegal. Also, my biggest takeaway with this unit is that the ear is a potato crisp with a fork in the road. Do with that info what you will. Unit 7, Secret Shapes, was my second favourite unit so far, because it was loads of fun trying to figure out where all these secret shapes would fit into the face. So it was a quick little unit, I really enjoyed it. Unit 8, however, is my #1 favourite because it's called Colour Appeal, and this is honestly the most fun I've had with digital painting ever, with the highest payoff. Ahmed shows you how to study colour and how to create some absolutely stunning palettes that you can literally put under any drawing. This is absolutely an exercise that I will be taking with me forever, especially on art blog days, because it requires little to no original concept thinking and is purely visual. Also, this was the point where it started to make sense to me why we spent so long drilling in the basics, because even with a chaotic underpainting, I actually found it really easy to build form and light on top of it, and while previously choosing a color palette would feel overwhelming, it is now literally as simple as pasting in one of the palettes that I've already made. Here are a couple of palettes that I created, and you'll see that as time went on, my palettes actually got better and better even though I was using the exact same sources. Unit 9, Value Techniques, was actually a bit of a catfish unit because when you think of painting in grayscale and values, you really don't expect it to be as complex and intricate as it actually was. Through a series of 4 photo studies, Ahmed teaches you to first dissect a reference and then reconstruct it using all of the fundamentals. My favourite part of this unit, however, was watching him make mistakes in his proportions or rendering. Okay, I know how that sounds, but hear me out. Not only did watching that process of catching out and correcting errors make him seem more human, but it also made me feel a lot more validated. If an artist so big can make errors, I am absolutely allowed to. And the fact that he fixes them without breaking a sweat is actually super important, because it subconsciously tells us that mistakes may not be as awful and life-ruining as we've made them out to be in our own heads. You know, you hear stories of creators who get really popular and then they have this crushing weight of needing to say and do the right things at all times and never once falter. I feel like the more secure you are in your own skills and abilities, the less scary mistakes become. And it is super important to have a role model who not only lives by this, but is comfortable showing the entire process, mistakes and all. And obviously, you know, this is not part of the course, but as a content creator, this is definitely a lesson that I'm going to be taking with me. And the last unit I've done so far is Unit 10, Master Studies. This one is significantly more complex than all of the units so far, but like I said, you guys, this course gradually builds up your confidence to a point where you look at something like a Sargent painting and you feel like, you know what, it's actually possible. Because when you think about studying classical art, especially the art of John Singer Sargent, your first instinct is never that it's doable. And yet at this point in the course, I felt like, you know what? It's doable. And I know what you're thinking, that it's easy for me to say this because I study so many artists, but when I say these studies are doable, I mean they are doable using only the techniques that Ahmed's taught us in this course and no external knowledge. I think the best measure of course outcomes isn't just the skills that you learn or what you can now do, but rather how you feel about using these skills. I think the best measure of whether a course is good or bad is its impact on your confidence and your thinking. How do you feel you can do with this specific skill at the end of the day? And while I haven't finished this course quite yet, I already feel so much more confident in my sketching and rendering skills. By the time I finish this course, you guys better watch out. That said, however, let's take a look at some criticisms that I have about this course. Okay, let me begin by saying that these are 100% nitpicky and have to do with the technical aspects of the presentation rather than the actual course content itself. Mostly because I am not qualified to comment on his course content or his teaching abilities, and more importantly, I actually really enjoyed the content and teaching 100%. So I really only have two little bits of criticism, which again are very nitpicky and probably don't bother anyone else, but yeah. The first is that some lessons seem to end abruptly, and by that I mean they seem to kind of split into the next one without a seamless transition. Not like a visual transition. I'm not saying he didn't use dip to black at the end of every video and that that's a valid critique. I meant more in terms of him talking. A couple of videos felt like he was about to say something more and then it cut out. Reason this bothered me a little bit is because I am an auditory listener, and while I was absolutely looking at the screen the whole time, when the lesson ended, my brain wouldn't even register that the screen has gone black because it's like he has more to say. I also thought that my internet was being weird and that it was still buffering the video until I consciously realized that it had automatically gone to the next lesson. It's probably like that because he didn't want individual lessons to go on that long, and I totally get that, but yeah, it felt a little choppy in a few of the videos, and I mean few, okay? Like out of the 81 lessons that I've watched so far, maybe 3 or 4 had this issue. And my other most nitpicky critique is his face. No, not like that. I mean that the earliest lessons don't have a talking head or green screen face cam in the lower right corner, but pretty much all of the other ones do. So it's just the unit 1 that doesn't have a face cam in it and all the others do. And I guess that's kind of a consistency point, but yeah, that's my other critique. All in all, this course actually felt like a bit of a license to play. Here's what I mean. Rather than teaching you the rules of painting, Ahmed focuses more on teaching you how to get to whatever end result you want, and then how to use those skills to paint whatever the hell you want to paint. And I feel like that is a super underrated part of this course, is that element of play with tones and hues. It made me feel like I had the permission to explore beyond just the usual lighting and posing and color combinations. And as someone who absolutely does not like being told what to do, that was actually really helpful. I feel like the gradual build up from the basic 3D shapes to more complex faces felt very natural and effortless, and how each lesson ties into the next one, it just goes to show how much thought has gone into developing the course as a whole. Most of all though, I really love how he explains the thought process that goes behind every artistic decision rather than just a step-by-step painting technique. While he does share his workflow in later lessons, which I haven't gotten to quite yet, so far I've found that his techniques are super easy to integrate into my own workflow, which is amazing. The painting that you're watching a time-lapse for right now is built on the principles and methods that I learned in this course so far. So when you saw me sketch the face, I started off with the default construction lines as I always do, before realizing that I should maybe put down a quick skull first, and you can clearly see how quickly the face built up on top of that. With the values, I was definitely using the Robau technique he teaches in Unit 9, and if you watched last week's video, you'll notice that with that one, I also painted in grayscale first. I've realized that this is actually way quicker for me right now because it is what I've been able to practice most, but obviously as I get through the rest of this course and the extras, my workflow might change again. Also, you'll see me pick one of the palettes from Unit 8 and paste it in as a base, then use those colors to build the form around. This is actually such a relief personally because I'm definitely still working on color placement and refining my palettes and color choices, so it's really nice to not worry about being too conservative or dull with my use of color while I'm still honing that skill. Future units I'll be looking at include stylization, shape design, appealing light, concept art, having fun with colors, which I can already tell is going to be my favorite, and a whole bunch of the Gumroad tutorials. I'm at 81 out of the 158 total videos, and oh my god, I've just realized there's only half of the total content. Maybe there's a room for part 2. Let me know if you want to see part 2 about all the rest of the tutorials, because oh my god, is this a long video. Also, did I mention that there are some Easter eggs along the way? Because there are. But yeah, here is this week's art created using the techniques I learned from the Medsmap course. And just to really tell you why you should take this course, here's what I would call my favorite painting from before this course. The difference is visible, and that's just from half the course so far. Here's another comparison of art that I've created before and after taking the course over the holidays. I just want to say thank you so much to Ahmed for gifting me this incredibly valuable course. I have enjoyed it thoroughly so far, and I promise you I'll do all of the assignments. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna commit to doing all of the assignments and sharing them on my Instagram. That way you guys can keep me accountable if I don't. Again, if you guys want to check out the course, I will leave my affiliate link down in the video description. It's my first affiliate link. I am super excited. And if you didn't know, an affiliate link means if you purchase using that link, I get a small percentage of your purchased amount. And that means I get to feed my dog even more treats and get him another neck roll. Thank you so much again to Ahmed. Last time I'll say this, I promise. And thanks to you guys for sitting through this entire video. I know it was long, but I hope you've enjoyed it regardless. And yeah, that's all I need to say. So thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Check out some more videos up here, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye!